Yashodanandana Gajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for coming. So before we begin reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll just read from Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Diary. This is February 16th, 1976. Last night, Srila Prabhupada had rasagula and nimkis, tasty homemade biscuits, which are offered to the deities each evening. He spilled some rasagula juice on the mat. Immediately, hundreds of ants came to enjoy. This has happened a few times. Each time as I clean up, Prabhupada stops to watch me and makes some pertinent philosophical remark. Prabhupada often likes to use such simple real-life examples to illustrate philosophical points in his classes. I felt honored when this morning he mentioned me and the ant episode to convey a point he was making in his lecture. In the verse, Prahlad Maharaj clearly stated that the Lord is not impressed by any of our material qualifications. He can be satisfied only by devotional service, which even Gajendra the elephant could offer. Prabhupada described how modern men think themselves very intelligent by building atom bombs or by gaining wealth. However, real intelligence is going back home, back to Godhead. To get some money by hook and crook, that is not intelligence. That intelligence I see. I was telling Hari Sauri, I was explaining that even a small ant, as soon as there is a drop of sugar juice, immediately within a second, hundreds of ants will come. Here is a drop of sugar juice. This is nature's study. This kind of buddhi, intelligence, how to eat, how to sleep, how to have sex, and how to defend, even in the ant is there. And that is not buddhi yoga. Real buddhi yoga is how to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, how to become first-class devotee of Krishna. That is called buddhi yoga. How to go back home, back to Godhead. That is buddhi. Srila Prabhupada ki. It's a very beautiful point Srila Prabhupada would always make. It's actually from an ancient Shastric verse. Ahara nidra bhayametunam cha samanametat pashubhi shamanaha dharmo hitesho adhiko vishesho dharmena hina pashubhi samanaha. So this ancient verse says ahara, eating, nidra, sleeping, bhaya, literally fearing, but it means defending against each other, and metuna, mating, sex desire. Samanametat pashubhi samanaha. This is the common activities between a pashu and a manushya, an animal and a human. Dharmena hina pashubhi samanaha. And then if you minus dharma, therefore, then there's nothing more special about a human being. Dharmo hitesho adhiko vishesho. The vishesha, the special thing about a human is that they have the ability to practice dharma. And without that, pashubhi samanaha, they're just an animal. So here Prabhupada is making the point that even the animals know how to find food. When the sugar juice drops, they immediately come. So it doesn't require so much intelligence. Real intelligence is to understand the goal of life. So today we're reading from the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is chapter number 5, entitled Narad Muni Cursed by Prajapati Daksha. And today we're reading from text number 42, right? 42. Yannastvam karma sandhanam sadhunam grihamedinam kritavan asidurmarsham vipriyam tavamarshitam yannastvam karma sandhanam sadhunam grihamedinam kritavan asidurmarsham vipriyam tavamaršitam yannastvam karma sandhanam sadhunam grihamedinam kritavan asidurmarsham vipriyam tavamaršitam
Yannastvam karma sandhanam sadhunam grihamedinam kritavan asidurmarsham vipriyam tavamaršitam
Yannastvam karma sandhanam sadhunam grihamedinam kritavan asidurmarsham vipriyam tavamaršitam
Mataji's. Karma sandhanam kritavan asidurmarsham vipriyam tavamaršitam yat, which, na, unto us, tvam, you, karma sandhanam, who strictly follow the fruitive ritualistic ceremonies according to Vedic injunctions. Sadhunam, who are honest, because we honestly seek elevated social standards and bodily comfort. Grihamedinam, although situated with a wife and children. Kritavanasi, have created. Durmarsham, unbearable. Vipriyam, wrong. Tava, your. Marshitam, forgiven. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Although I live in household life with my wife and children, I honestly follow the Vedic injunctions by engaging in fruitive activities to enjoy life without sinful reactions. I have performed all kinds of yagyas, including the Deva Yagya, Rishi Yagya, Pitri Yagya, and Nri Yagya. Because these yagyas are called vratas, vows, I am known as a Griha Vrata. Unfortunately, you have given me great displeasure by misguiding my sons for no reason to the path of renunciation. This can be tolerated once, not twice. Purport. Prajapati Daksha wanted to prove that he had been most tolerant in not having said anything when Narad Muni, for no reason, induced his 10,000 innocent sons to adopt the path of renunciation. Sometimes householders are accused of being Grihamedis, for Grihamedis are satisfied with family life without spiritual advancement. Grihastas, however, are different, because although Grihastas live in householder lives with their wives and children, they are eager for spiritual advancement. Wanting to prove that he had been magnanimous to Narad Muni, Prajapati Daksha stressed that when Narad had misled his first sons, Daksha had taken no action. He had been kind and tolerant. He was aggrieved, however, because Narad Muni had misled his sons for a second time. Therefore, he wanted to prove that Narad Muni, although dressed like a sadhu, was not actually a sadhu. He himself, although a householder, was a greater sadhu than Narad Muni. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Om Jnanati Mirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here Daksha is defending himself. He says there's two reasons why I should be considered more of a sadhu than you. Reason number one is I am not a Grihamedi, I am a Grihasta. I'm doing so many, I'm following dharma, I'm doing yagya, I'm doing many ritualistic ceremonies, I'm following the shastra. So why do you think that you need to divert my sons away from me, away from family? I'm a religious person. And he says the second argument why I'm a saintly person is not just because I'm doing my ritualistic activities, but I've got very good character. Because when you did a misjustice to me one time, I tolerated it. I didn't react. I didn't respond. But now you've done it for a second time, then I cannot tolerate. Now I have to correct you. Therefore I have to curse you. So this is Daksha's outlook, that actually he has not done anything wrong because he's following Dharma. What do you think? Is Daksha following Dharma? No. What Daksha is doing ritualistic activities. He's following the Shastra. He's doing the different yagyas required. That means that someone is not just a Grihamedi. But we can say Daksha is following Dharma, but he's still following materialistic Dharma. In the Vedic progression of life, there are 4 stages: Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. The first stage of life to have any kind of progression in your life, whether material or spiritual, is you have to follow Dharma. That's the first stage. You can't even materially be successful if you don't follow Dharma. Therefore, the first goal of life for all civilized beings is to follow Dharma. And therefore you have Dharma Shastra. You have scriptures which teach you about Dharma. Can anyone name me a Dharma Shastra? Famous one. Manu Samhita, that's probably the most famous Dharma Shastra. So Manu Samhita will tell you, if you're a lady, this is your Dharma. If you're a man, this is your Dharma. If you're a Sudra, this is your Dharma. If you're in an emergency situation, this is your Dharma. In other words, it tells you how to act in every single situation so that you will not, you will be in line with the flow of life, the natural flow of life. So there's Dharma Shastra, because the first goal is Dharma. Then there is Artha Shastra, because when you follow Dharma, then you should get economic development. You should learn how to live in this world and navigate all the different situations that are there. So then there is Artha Shastra. There's one Artha Shastra that Srila Prabhupada quoted regularly. Anyone know which one that is? Chanakya, yes. Chanakya Pandit wrote Artha Shastra. And so he talks about politics, about practicalities, about how to deal with the different things in this world, how to economically develop. So for Artha, there is Artha Shastra. Then Kama. Yes, you can enjoy in this world. You have a body, you have a mind, and Shastra even gives you license to enjoy Kama. So then there are Kama Shastra. We don't need to go too much into that. In the world, they are there, and they have become very famous by people who seek to satisfy their senses. So there are also Kama Shastra. And then there is Moksha Shastra. Out of all of the Vedas, there are certain books which are known as Moksha Shastra, the scriptures which teach you about liberation. Most of the Vedas is dealing mainly with this world, Traigunya Vishaya Veda, but then there are some books in the Vedas which begin to teach you what's beyond the 3 modes, material life. Does anyone know which books those are? The Upanishads. Upanishad literally means, Upa means close and Nishad means to sit. Nyas, like Vyasa, Nyas means a sitting place. So Upanishad literally means to sit close to the Supreme Lord. So the Upanishads are the first scriptures which then teach you about how to approach the absolute truth. So this is the scheme of Vedic life: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. But the Vaishnavacharyas, they come in and they teach that there is something beyond all of this. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan. So these four things are known as Purusha Arthas, the four goals of life. But what Srimad Bhagavatam and the Vaishnav Shastras stress is that there is a Panchama Purusha Artha. There's a fifth goal of life, which is beyond these four. And what is that? Prema Pumartho Mahan. The ultimate goal, even beyond moksha, is to attain prema or love, bhakti. And therefore you have Dharma Shastra, you have Artha Shastra, you have Kama Shastra, you have Moksha Shastra. But what do we study? Bhakti Shastra. Therefore you get a Bhakti Shastri. We didn't so far give anyone a Moksha Shastri or an Artha Shastri or even a Dharma Shastri. No. Bhakti Shastri. Get a Bhakti Shastri, because you should understand the Bhakti Shastra, because that teaches you how to awaken love. So basically in the Shastra there's two types of Dharma. One type of Dharma is known as Apada Dharma, which means worldly Dharma. And there is another type of Dharma which is known as Pada Dharma, which means transcendental religion. So is Daksha following Dharma? Yes. Of course he is. He's expert in following Dharma. But what kind of Dharma is he following? Apada Dharma. Should devotees follow Apada Dharma? What do you think? Yes. Yes, we should follow Apada Dharma. But we should follow Apada Dharma in a way that it leads to Paradharma. Therefore the Bhagavatam will say, Dharma svanustita pumsham vishvakshena kathashuya notpadayad yadiratim shramma eva hikevalam. If you follow your Dharma, Apada Dharma, but it doesn't help you to become attracted to the Supreme Lord and attracted to hearing and chanting, Shramma eva hi kevalam. Srila Prabhupada translates, all of that Apara Dharma is a useless waste of time. That's why Krishna says in the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. Sometimes many people get confused about this. Sometimes they think it's a printing error. Maybe Krishna is saying Sarva Adharma Parityajya. Give up all adharma. That sounds more like in line with the teachings of the Gita. No, Krishna says even Sarva Dharma, definitely adharma you should give up. But Krishna is even saying Sarva Dharma you should give up if that Dharma doesn't help you to become situated in Paradharma, the ultimate Dharma. So like this, there are levels of spiritual practice. So the Bhagavatam begins by saying Dharma Projita Ketavatra Paramo. This Bhagavatam throws away all cheating religion. So when Aparadharma doesn't lead to Paradharma, is known as Kaitava Dharma. That makes sense. Cheating religion is when you follow the injunctions of Shastra, but it doesn't help you and it's not leading you to pure love for Krishna. If religion and following Dharma makes you more entangled in sense enjoyment in the world, if following Dharma is not taking you closer to purifying your material desires and awakening your spiritual desires, then that type of Dharma is known as Kaitava Dharma. And that type of Dharma is rejected by the Vaishnavas. So the ideal is to follow a Paradharma in a way that it leads to your Paradharma. And then once you've achieved your Paradharma, you have no need to follow that Aparadharma, but devotees will still follow it to show a good example. So there are parts of our life which are Aparadharma and parts which are Paradharma. Chanting 16 rounds, what do you think? Para, transcendental. Following 4 regulative principles, what do you think? Apara. Yeah, it's not spiritual in and of itself. Just because you don't eat meat doesn't make you a spiritual person. But it's useful. The vow of getting married, dharma, apara dharma or paradharma? Apara. It's a varnashram. It's good, it's useful, it's dharmic. But nothing spiritual in and of itself in getting married. Doing a Kartik Vrata in Vrindavan, apada or pada? Pada, transcendental. So certain vows and certain practices that we make are in the realms of apada dharma, but they're still useful if they help us to develop bhakti. So the problem with Daksha is he has divorced apada dharma from pada dharma, and therefore basically he's following Kaitava dharma. And although he thinks he's religious, actually he's become entangled in cheating religion, and he hasn't understood that Narad Muni is delivering transcendental religion to his sons, and he can't appreciate that, and therefore he's calling Narad Muni a sadhu when Narad Muni is actually a sadhu, because a sadhu takes one to becoming completely fixed. The definition of a sadhu, samyak vyavasito hi saha sadhu reva samantavya. The sadhu is known because they're undeviated in serving Krishna. And when a sadhu speaks to someone, he helps them to do the same. And therefore, Daksha hasn't understood what is the definition of a sadhu. And therefore, he's calling Narad Muni a sadhu, unsaintly. Okay, before I say anything else, did anyone have any questions on this, or comments, or need any clarification? Yes?
I have a question to this text 66, 18th chapter in Bhagavad Gita. Masuchaha. Please comment on it.
Masuchaha. Yeah, in the translation, Suchaha is translated as fear. Sucha also comes from the Sanskrit word soche, which means lamentation. Sometimes Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the commentary, he says, do not hesitate. So all of these translations are there of Ma Sucha. So when Krishna says, surrender unto me, it relates to all of these words. Krishna says, surrender unto me, don't fear. Sometimes people fear that when they give up some kind of aspect of dharma, that they'll get a sinful reaction. So that sometimes you find those from an Indian background, if they've been worshipping a demigod throughout their life, and then later on they come to Krishna consciousness, and then we tell them, no need to worship the demigods, just worship Krishna. But then they have a fear in their mind, if I don't worship this demigod, then maybe I'll get cursed. So they keep Krishna, but then they also keep everyone also. Make sure nothing bad, nothing goes wrong. So Krishna says, don't fear. Krishna bhakti koile sarva karma krita hoy. If you do Krishna bhakti, everything will be fulfilled. So Masucha means don't worry that you'll get a sinful reaction. Masucha also means don't lament. Because when you surrender to Krishna, you'll never lose out on anything. Sometimes we come to the Krishna consciousness movement, we try to surrender and then we lament. Did I miss out on something? Did I give up some great opportunity in my life? We keep looking back. What am I missing out on? So Krishna says, Masucha, don't lament. Once you come here, all your desires will be fulfilled. And then Masucha can also mean do not hesitate. Because there's a hesitation in surrendering completely to Krishna. Because we don't trust. If I surrender to Krishna, will everything be achieved in my life? I don't know if I have that faith. So Krishna is reassuring. Don't hesitate. I'm saying, be confident. Be Krishna confident. Krishna will arrange. So Masucha is a very... actually, if you go to Sri Vaishnava temples and you see a deity of Vishnu, then often sometimes in South Indian temples, the deity of Vishnu has the hand of Vishnu giving a benediction like this, and on the hand is written Masucha. It's very nice. If you go to South India, you'll see. So yes, don't hesitate, don't lament, don't fear. Just surrender. Is that okay? Yes.
We can practice sometimes also this paradharma and still cannot come much further, right?
So you're saying we follow paradharma?
And still cannot come so much further, just by following.
Yeah. Sometimes we also give up our aparadharma and neglect our aparadharma, only grasping paradharma. But maybe we do that prematurely, maybe we do that immaturely. If you give up aparadharma, worldly religion, prematurely or immaturely, then that giving up of aparadharma will block you from actually achieving full bhakti in the heart, full love for Krishna. The idea of dharma, aparadharma, is it's meant to make you more sensitive. It's meant to make you more purified. It's meant to make you make your heart like a fertile ground for bhakti to come about. And therefore, following our duties of this world is also very, very good. It's very, very purifying. Like there was one Sankirtan devotee, he left his family very young, and then he became a book distributor, and then he joined the temple and everything. And then later on in his life, he was feeling that, did I neglect my parents? Did I neglect the duty to my parents? So he tells this amazing story that once he was going on parikrama, and he was having this meditation in his heart that because I've neglected my parents and my duty to them, I feel that it's blocking my bhakti. So he was having this feeling like, should I go back and do something for my parents? And then he was going on Govardhan parikrama. And somehow on Govardhan parikrama, he saw this one sight. And he felt as though Krishna arranged it for him. And he had stopped on the parikrama to take a break. And what he saw was a young boy bringing his sick father. And his young boy was bringing his sick father to the hand pump. You know, in India they have these wells, there's like a hand pump. And he brought his father very nicely to the hand pump, and then he was pumping, and he was basically bathing his father because his father couldn't bathe. So he was watching this son serve his father. And he thought, oh my God, it must be a sign from Krishna. I should serve my parents. So then he came back from Govardhan, he came back to London, and he thought, I think I should serve my parents. All these years I've neglected them. So then he called up his mother and he said, oh, I'll come to visit you. He hadn't seen his mother and father in a long time. So he came to visit his mother and father. So he only planned to be there for 2-3 weeks. And what happened is COVID hit. And his mother and father got COVID. So then he was isolated in the house with them. So then now they were sick, he was in the house, there was lockdown. So he was there and he thought, this is Krishna's arrangement, I have to serve them. So he began serving his parents. They needed help, they were sick, and ultimately they were all in lockdown. And then what happened is after 3 months he was serving them, then he even managed to, because he was chanting, so then they became attracted. But then they got more sick. And then after 3 months, his father died, but he was with him chanting. And after another 1 month, his mother died. But he was with them for those last months of the journey, and he served them very nicely. And then he felt satisfied after that, at least I served them. And then he said he felt as though his bhakti for Krishna just opened up, because there was a block, because this dharma he felt he had neglected. And so he was giving this example of how even our apara dharma, when we honor it and do it in a devotional way, then it's actually very, very good for our bhakti. But if we immaturely and prematurely leave our worldly duties, then it can block us from actually developing love for Krishna. Thank you. Anyone else? Last questions? No? Okay. Yeah.
I will speak in Russian.
Yeah, sure.
Такой вопрос. Можно ли сказать, что если мы следуем карме и просто выполняем даже предписание в ключе аппарат кармы, то это тоже может быть автоматически? И каким образом тогда перейти в этот режим, когда мы будем следовать предписаниям аппарат кармы, и это будет наполнять нас смыслом, давать нам вдохновение, гордиться и стремиться к каким-то высоким результатам от сознания Кришны.
Аппарат кармы, чтобы это тоже наполняло нас смыслом, приближать.
Да, что мы не просто следуем этим предписаниям, но пытаемся задать себе вопрос, в чем как бы смысл.
Okay, so the question is, so if you follow also not conscious aparatharma, so if you follow aparatharma unconsciously and just follow the Vedic scriptures, it often also doesn't lead us to Krishna consciousness. So how can we follow more conscious those principles, not in a mechanic way, in an automatic way?
It's about, you always say in your lectures that we should ask question, what does it mean for
me? Yes.
What is touching my heart? And you always speak that Prabhupada, he has this ambition, spiritual ambition. It's about like inner sense of life, so to say. And I was thinking maybe you can speak in some words in this topic, how to practice this apparat karma, but with not just traditional.
For some higher perspective, for some higher reason.
But conscious awakening, as you always speaking about this.
Yeah, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yat karoshi, yad ashnashi, yad johoshi, dadashi, yat tapashyashi konteya, tat kurushva madarpanam. Krishna says, whatever you do, whatever work you perform, whatever austerities you do, whatever vratas you do it as an offering to me. So what we do as Vaishnavas is all of our apara dharma, we actually consciously connect it to Krishna. So actually, in one sense, for a Vaishnav, they don't really do any apara dharma, because what they do is all of their worldly duties, they learn to always connect it to Krishna. Like you're a mother, but you don't just look after your children on a physical and emotional level, you try to make them devotees of Krishna. You go to work and you earn a living, but then what you do is some of that money you give it to Krishna, and therefore your work becomes directly devotional service. We cook and we eat sattvic foods, but then we offer it to Krishna and we connect that dharmic living and make it paradharmic living, because we connect everything to Krishna. And in the same way, for a devotee, they realize that my time, my energy, everything is so limited here. And so all my time and all my energy is very valuable. So let me try to use every moment in such a way that not only am I fulfilling my duties, thank you, see you soon. Not only am I fulfilling my duties, but I'm serving Krishna. And therefore our grihastas are amazing, because they kind of build this life in which they're surviving in the world, they're fulfilling all their duties, but their life is just so Krishna conscious. Devotees are very smart. Like, for example, we should try not just to get a job where we just work out there for 60 hours a week and make money for someone else, and then we maybe have 4 or 5 hours in the weekend where we can then do something for Krishna. So devotees are very smart. What they learn is how to make their own business. And they don't just make their own business, then they make a spiritual business. And then they're making a spiritual business, they're distributing prasadam, they're earning money to keep their grihastha ashram going. And during the day, they distribute books while they're on the prasadam stall. And you think like, wow, that's amazing. You connected everything to Krishna. So this is the art of how to live. That a devotee realizes my time is short. I don't want to waste my time just surviving in this world. Rather, let me be smart and find a way in how to survive and fulfill my duties and do as much service for Krishna at the same time. So this is requires some intelligence. But like also devotees should think, even when you're in your 20s or 30s, are you in your 20s or 30s? 20s. 30s. Okay, something. Yeah, you're young basically. You should already start thinking of Vanaprastha life. You should already be thinking, how can I earn enough money and secure everything and start giving more of my time to Krishna? Because if you want to take Vanaprastha, it takes 20, 30 years of preparation. So a devotee realizes my time is valuable, my energy is going every single day. The energy of the body is going. So while I have life, while I have time, while I have energy, let me do something for Krishna. What will I have to show to Srila Prabhupada at the end of my life? If Prabhupada comes and asks me, what did you do for my movement? Will I have anything significant to show? Therefore, let me not just try to survive in this world. Let me try to thrive in this world. But that requires some intelligent thinking. So, I don't know if this answers your question. But yeah.
I was just wondering, it sounds so difficult to make everything right, to follow every dharma properly, and to be always the perfect person. I mean, life is not like this. Life is more like you make bad decisions sometimes, wrong decisions. So, is it like this, that the mercy will be greater than our inability, or the mercy of Krishna, or we have to pay for every mistake?
Yeah, even Arjuna couldn't balance all of his dharmas. What to speak of us? Arjuna is saying, I have a kula dharma, a dharma to my family, and then I have a kshatriya dharma, a dharma as a kshatriya, and then I have a dharma as a husband, I have a dharma as a father. He's thinking like, how do I fulfill all of this? It's very difficult. But the idea is that if you place the Sanatan Dharma at the center, and then you work with all of your dharmas, with Sanatan Dharma as the center, even if there is some lacking in all of your dharma, because your ultimate goal is to serve Krishna, then Krishna makes up. Therefore Krishna says, Aham dvam sarva papebhyo. If there's something lacking, don't worry, I'll cover it up. Krishna says every endeavor in this world is covered by some fault. So there'll always be some fault when we endeavor in this world. But if the basic core of our life is that I'm making decisions based on how to sincerely give my heart to Krishna, then even if there is some lacking in your dharma, then Krishna will make it up. But that's why I said, when you give up your apara dharma immaturely or prematurely, when you give up your dharma because it's difficult, because you don't like to do it, or because, then that kind of dharma, giving up of dharma, is not founded upon sincerity. And therefore then we get reaction. But when we're sincerely trying to serve Krishna, if there's some lacking in our dharma, Krishna is very kind. He says, I know it's difficult. The whole Mahabharata is a book which is meant to teach us why following dharma is so complex. Because every character in so many situations is having a dharma shamuda, a conflict of dharma. So to follow dharma is very difficult in this world. But when we put the Sanatan Dharma at the center, then Krishna makes up. Krishna says, I carry what you lack and I preserve what you have. Does that help? Kind of. There's always a doubt in us, am I neglecting my dharma? I'm trying to serve Krishna, but am I neglecting my dharma? Am I neglecting this? That person I need to do, this I need to do. It's like we're juggling, so we always have a doubt within ourselves. Therefore, take guidance. Pray to Krishna for inspiration. Look deep within your heart and see that whatever you're doing it out of sincerity. And then at the end of the day, we come in front of Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we rely on their mercy. That even if my thinking was defective, my decisions were somewhat a little bit wrong, still you know my heart, Krishna. So if there's some fault, you make it up. And Krishna will help. But we have to show we're sincere. It's a complex. Dharma is complex. That's why I took sannyas. Easier. But, yeah. Alright, yes.
Does it mean to take sannyas, to take more responsibility?
Yeah, even in sannyas is also a varnashram position. So even sannyasis have a dharma to perform as well. So like Mahaprabhu says, Naham Vipro Nacha Narapati Napi Vaisho Nasudro. I'm not a sannyasi, I'm not a man, I'm not a woman, I'm not any of these things. I'm just a servant of Krishna. But then Mahaprabhu takes sannyas and he lives as a sannyasi. And he lives very strictly as a sannyasi. So in whatever stage of life you're living in, even if you take sannyas or you're a grihasta, everyone has dharma. We have to follow our dharma. But make it centered around Krishna. And then your dharma shouldn't become something which weighs on you. Sometimes we feel dharma is like weighing on me. But actually your dharma, when it's connected to Krishna, it actually liberates you. Okay, on the Prabhu's side, anything? No? Okay, yeah. Look.
How to make the Krishna consciousness as first priority in everyday life? Because when I try it, it's easy for 2 to 3 days, and on 4th day, it's difficult to make it as priority for every day. There are ups and downs. Sometimes material life becomes important. It's more to do with the mind than our strong.
Like, why do we do a morning program every single day? The idea of doing a morning program is that in this world we're playing many roles. You're a father, you're working, businessman, whatever. You have some service in the temple. We're playing many roles. But the reason we do a morning program is to realize that everything I'm doing in the world is a role. But my identity is that I'm a servant of Krishna. So the idea of doing a morning program, chanting your rounds in the morning, seeing Krishna first. There was one young girl, not young girl, she was very old now, but she told us, she was like 80 years old, she told us from when she was a kid, she was living in Varshana, and her mother told her, when you get up in the morning and your eyes open, close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, come up from your bed. And then with your eyes closed, feel the wall and find the door. And with your eyes closed, walk through the door and walk down the stairs. And with your eyes closed, go into the front room. And with your eyes closed, come in front of the altar. And then open the curtains and then open your eyes. This is like, it's a Vrindavan style. We may not do here. And she said, I did that from when I was a kid and I do it to this day. Because my mum taught me that no day should begin without Krishna first. You see Krishna first. Because the idea is you make that identity your strongest identity, your ultimate. And then whatever role you're playing, you see it from the point of view that I'm a servant of Krishna. But what happens is if we don't cement that identity first, if you run out of the door at 9 o'clock straight into work, then most of the day you're going to be living your identity that I'm a worker. You're not a worker. You're a spirit soul on the way to Krishna Loka. And you're just a worker. You're just a worker playing a role. So one thing is that we have to have this very strong sense of identity, and that identity has to be created every single day. But then sometimes you have to accept that you can't do as many spiritual things as you want to do because you have to put some energy into your material life. Maybe there are periods in your life when you have to work harder. There are periods in your life when you have to look after relatives because they need your time. Maybe there are times in your life when you can't come to the temple in the evening because you got to spend time with your kids, teaching them something because their exams are coming. So sometimes life is like that. You have to put energy into different activities, but you always have a plan. How am I ultimately going to give my heart and life to Krishna? And you're always thinking about that. So it's a complex world and you have to give different time to different things. But the devotee is always strategizing. How am I going to get out? How am I going to get out? Therefore I told Mataji, if you want to take Vanaprastha, you got to start planning now. His Holiness Kadamba Maharaj, I think he was at Rupa Sanatan's wedding. Rupa Sanatan Prabhu in Gauradesh. And Maharaj, at his wedding he said, and now you are married, now you should start thinking of sannyas. It's like, my God, I just got married today. When think of sannyas? He says, yes, it takes that long. It takes that much planning to get out. To give your life to Krishna. So time is short. And then at the end of life, we work so hard. Very little time for Krishna. Very little Krishna in our life. So it's hard. Because it's a complex world. But if you try, Krishna will help. Yes, okay. Maybe last question.
According to this, what you said in regard of the morning program, can we say, we have to put all our endeavor every day? Because even though we were like yesterday inspired and sparkling, after the sleep, everything is sometimes like gone. So you're waking up and you're like again in Tamaguna, and then you have to do again all the efforts. So can we say that it's like, like this?
Yeah, we have to see like, like when you're driving and it's raining, then you put the windscreen wipers on. And then you can't. So then boom, the windscreen wiper goes and then it's clear. But then after a certain time all the raindrops come back, so you need to go boom again. Like it has to be like that. So ignorance keeps coming back. Tamagun keeps coming back. It's not just after sleep, it's even during the day. That's why we chant Gayatri 3 times a day. Stop whatever you're doing. Windscreen wiper. Boom. I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. Let me be enthused. Let me be enthused by Guru, enthused by Mahaprabhu. It's a prayer for enthusiasm, the Gayatri actually. So yes, we continually have to do that every single day. There's one Buddhist meditation where they say every time you go to sleep, you die. This is like, it's quite esoteric, it's interesting. But the concept is that every time you go to sleep, you die, and then you're born again. So there's some kind of truth in that every single night when you go to sleep, something of you dies, you're born again, and then you need to bring Krishna into the center again. So yeah, that's why we have to do it every day, during the day, at every moment. One devotee said, Prabhupada, sometimes I forget Krishna. Prabhupada said, you always forget Krishna. And sometimes you remember him. Rupa says, Rupa Goswami, Yuvatinam yatha yuni yunam cha yuvato yatha manobhi ramate tadvan manome ramatam tvai. So just as the minds of young girls are naturally attracted towards young boys. And just as the minds of young boys are naturally attracted towards young girls, Mano bhiramate tadvan, allow my mind to be as naturally attracted towards you. So when that gravitation of the mind comes to Krishna, this is known as Raganuga. You know, one meaning of the name Radha, Ra means Rag, and Dha means Dhavati, which means to run. So Radha literally means she who is running after the object of her deepest attachment, Krishna. Radha, very nice. Raga Dhavati. So we have to become Raganuga. You have to follow your rag. Develop some attachment for Krishna. That's the most pressing thing in life, the biggest mission. How to develop some love. Alright, thank you so much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Keshava.